last but not least, we have Kiran Mander.
Hi everyone, I'm Kiran. I am a UBC co-founder. We started in 2001. And yeah, I coached and I choreographed the team all the way up to 2010. And since then, I've been on the board of VIBC as well, and I act as the performance chair. And I love to bring you guys down, so that's part of my role. I mean, the impact, I mean, I really echo your sentiments, Poonam. I think it's the coolest thing, especially for me to see. Back when we started doing Bhangra, everything was a struggle. When I say struggle, from my parents to dance with even boys, from a struggle to even dance alongside boys and compete with them, and actually win competitions. And it was a struggle just to think that Bhangra was cool from the community around me. So people that were my age actually didn't think Bhangra was cool. So it was kind of a struggle just proving that, one, Bhangra was the coolest art form out there. And we all proved that along the way. I just think I'm so proud to see that there's so many youth that are involved and think Bhangra is really cool. Bhangra is something that I really want to get a part of. You see parents that are so involved with all these groups and communities now, getting their kids involved in Bhangra. So for me, it's like, wow, we've come such a long way. Our first Bhangra competition was actually at Bruin Bhangra in 2002. Or second, I can't remember. But then it was honestly, if you watched a competition then and you watch a competition now, the girls, as an example, were used as props. They used them as human skipping ropes. They used to toss them in the air. And really, Bhangra, I mean, if you would never see a chumar like you see a chumar now. I mean, they didn't really know Bhangra back then. And so all of you have contributed to what Bhangra is today and really have brought in the folk that, you know, some of our ancestors have you know, brought over, and I think I'm really proud just to see what we've done with Bhangra over the last 10 years.
Thanks, Karen. So yeah, so I'm gonna segue into kind of what came before us. You know, 5 years, you know, 10 years when Vibe. Do you guys remember Vibe's performance at Bruin?
Oh yeah.
OMG. You know what I mean? And back then, Bhangra was different. That was our first competition. We didn't know anything about competition. We showed up with like headbands on our head, like little small penta. We couldn't afford anything. We were like poor students. But you know, I find like when I read forums or like I judge a lot of competitions, and you guys can attest to this, I almost feel like while the majority of us still respect all the hard work of those teams, you know, that had to do a lot of the groundwork for us to be where we are today. And of course, all of you are also contributing to that. I sometimes find that the direction that Bhangra is headed in, back then, Karen Poonam can speak to this, we did Bhangra because it was friggin' from the heart. It was passion. You know, we may not have been that good at it initially. We may have had to learn off videos and sometimes just self-teach. But we went to competitions, it was just a different feeling. It was like you went there, we went, oh, we're gonna meet KJ, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna have a good time together, Vibe's gonna be there, we're all gonna hang out, we're gonna throw some awesome Bhangra on the stage. Every team had their own unique characteristic and something unique about them. Vibe had their uniqueness, KJ had their uniqueness. UC Irvine, they used to do these crazy stunts, they had their uniqueness. UBC girls had their thing. Now I feel like, coming from a judging perspective and being at Bruin just a couple weeks ago, I feel the difference. I feel animosity. I feel taking the art for granted. I feel you go to a team, like I was all like, hey guys, what's up, da, 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 and you get this like wall. What are your thoughts? And I'm gonna open this up to the audience as well, but anybody on the panel? Feel free, anybody.
I feel like that, I feel like that you're right. Even when we started, it was different. And now it's kind of like the trophies mean more than anything. You know, people are like sitting there counting their placings, you know, taking pictures of their trophies, posting them and saying, oh, this is this number, this is, and I feel like that back then it wasn't like that. And I wonder if a lot of it just has to do with not so much Bhangra, but maybe just society in general. Because if we look at, you know, the newer generation, just the things that, you know, they're taught in school or that they see on TV. It's very kind of like, you know, each man for himself, be it that your career, be it, you know, what you need to achieve in life. It's always kind of like, you know, if it's not the best, then it's not good enough. And I feel like that slowly has been carried over into Bhangra too. Especially, I feel like that these problems are with the next generation. Like the more that you see, like, you know, 16, 17, 15-year-olds come in on these teams, and it's what they're being taught elsewhere in society, which I feel like it's the same mentality that they carry over. And now it's not, you know, you come back from a competition and you don't place, or even if you get second, and I'll be like, congratulations, and a team will be like, for what? For losing? And I'm like, when we got second place, like, you know, each team should be their own competition. It's like, you know what, we did so much better than we did last time that we were on stage. And now I feel like that it's not like that anymore, like the rivalries, etc. You guys can add on. Anyone else?
Before we open it up to the audience, anybody else in the panel, like, what's created the shift, and how can we move forward to create that united community if we really want to elevate Bhangra to the level where we want it to be? Ricky?
Yeah, I feel like going into a competition, yeah, you want to go in to win, but we're also here to like make new friendships. Like when we go, say if we go to East Coast, we want to be able to go there and enjoy being around somebody else. And without Bhangra, I feel like you wouldn't really have that connection with other people around. So I feel like that's one positive way that we're going. And
yeah,
well, I feel like that's a positive between like meeting new people. But yeah, the competition-wise, going in when you don't, like going with that mentality to like, oh, I'm gonna go see this team there. I feel like that should be something that changes. I mean, we're all here to win, but like, it should also be on like meeting new people and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know who has their, I think Kartik wanted to say something, or Poonam, go ahead.
Sure, a couple of things. I think one thing that's changed is that I think teams work a lot harder these days. Just from what I've seen in the last 5 years, we worked a lot harder. And I think that kind of that desire to be better, and you practice so much and then you get caught up in placings. And I think first of all, I think we're all huge hypocrites. I think that's, when we win, we're like, oh, placings don't matter at all, man. Come on, we dance for the love. Like I dance for the culture. I'm doing it for Punjab. And it's like, it's very interesting when we don't. When we don't, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, like we're on stage, it's like, oh, okay, like didn't place, and then like, boom. Exactly what you're saying, the wall shows up, even if we come like second or third. I think we were lucky this year to have like some successes, and when we went to Bhangra at the Bell, and we've been doing pretty good at competitions. We went to Bhangra at the Bell, and then like we all danced pretty hard. I think it was like the best dance we've ever actually done, like dancing-wise. But one guy's pug came off, like, you know, a minute left in the performance. And the moment that happened, it was kind of like, oh, you know, like that's not, like, oh, now it's like, it's over. Like we walk off and everyone's like, oh man, I killed it. And that one kid, he's staying there and he's crying because he feels that the most important thing for him was that he kept, you know, a team from being rewarded for its success. And that was a really sad sight to see as a captain, is that like a younger dancer on your team that has like worked so hard, and like he's in this for the love of it, enjoying it. Like he's just been so corrupted by apparently what we've taught him on the team, that he just doesn't care about anything other than the fact that he got so affected by such a simple thing that wasn't in his hand. So I think since then, I think we've tried as much as possible. I think that was a big realization for me. I was definitely obsessed with winning like all the time when I was a sophomore, junior, even senior. And I think now that I'm done with Cornell and leaving, I think I'm just lucky to be in a place where I hope a lot of people can be, that like, God, those years were great, and the things I remember really were just like those moments on stage and not the trophies. But you know, to each his own, and I don't think it's fair to say that people shouldn't compete and shouldn't strive for it, but I do hope that we can all at some point as a community get to a place where, yeah, we're trying to be #1, but if that doesn't happen for some whatever reason, there's a much bigger reason that we're dancing. But.
Thanks, Kartik. Poonam?
Well, back to your question originally about how the scene was changing. Mm-hmm. I remember being a kid in like a Bruin Bhangra audience that was held in like a stadium of 1,000 seats inside Ackerman Union. and I was very lucky to go on and complete my undergrad at UCLA and get to be a part of that competition. And I remember when I was a kid watching those competitions, entertainment counted above all else. When Vibe was this unknown team from Canada long before the days of social media, where YouTube videos were easily accessible, they were this revolutionary team that had gimmicks and energy, and they brought an audience to its feet. And that set the stage for teams like UBC Girls, which was the first all-girls Bhangra team that anybody had seen, and so many girls in the audience were inspired to someday want to do that. Because here there were girls setting the stage on fire, and that led to teams like Khalsa Junction and Sorme and Cher and the legends that we now know of yesteryear. And at that time, there was a very big emphasis placed on entertainment. If you could inspire a kid in the audience to think that, hey, I want to do something like that when I grow up, and I want a room full of 3,300 people standing on their feet for me, that was a reward in itself. And that reward was also rewarded in the eyes of 5 or 7 judges who were standing there and deciding your fate at this competition. And I think the scene has changed today in the sense that the audience is still the same. There are still families, there are still kids who are dying to see somebody do something different and revolutionary and inspire them to achieve greatness someday. But then we place a whole lot of emphasis on what 5 or 7 people decide is their view of a perfect Bhangra routine. And I remember, and I go back to what I would have thought as a kid in that audience, and I think I cared a lot more for the energy and the drive and the enthusiasm that someone brought to that stage, a lot more than the angle of somebody's hand or the way somebody kicked their feet or another nuance that may have been lost on me and maybe wasn't lost on a judge. So I think the scene has changed because there's a disconnect. The audience has stayed the same, they still value entertainment, but we've placed a whole lot of emphasis on what 5 or 7 people think, and we're allowing 5 or 7 people to then decide the direction of an entire dance form. And I mean, Darwin was the founder of evolution, and things that don't evolve with time, they stagnate, and things that stagnate become extinct. And I think we're all here because we want to carry our culture forward and carry our dance form forward. And I think to do that, you have to inspire that kid in the audience to achieve greatness and try to be the next Vibe who pulls girls out like magic tricks and does something totally revolutionary, but somehow gets 3,300 people at the Long Beach Terrace Theater all on their feet.
Yeah, that was an amazing moment. Just a segue, oh sorry, Kiran, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have something really short to say. And I think what I really just want to emphasize is that I think that we're being a little bit harsh on the youth today. Like, people talk about what's happening with the youth today. We're more competitive. Times have changed. I've been here in the scene for a long time, and I'll tell you, we hated Vibe. Vibe hated us, right?
We hated other teams too.
But you know what? And it was like that with every other team. But that's the nature of competition. You hate them on stage, but you're friends with them off stage, right? And that was maybe, I don't know if that's the case now or the difference now, but we also didn't have social media back then. So we didn't have avenues or forums for us to go talk trash about another team. And that's not something we could do. You know, we would do it face-to-face or, you know, but so I just feel that I don't feel that the times have changed. I feel that being that this is a competitive nature in any sport or in any dance form, and if you're competing, you're always going to breed a competitive nature. And I'm a competitive person, so it's just a matter of channeling that energy, your competitiveness, so that you're not breeding hate. You know, you're inspiring people off stage to want to dance and be like your team and perform and win. And I mean, any person that said that they would compete, even on my team, oh, we're just doing it for fun, I'd be like, oh my God, you're on the wrong team because I'm gonna win. You know, so again, it just comes to challenge